So I think that if you're working with investors all cash, the day is yours. You have all the power at the table. It's just a question of how much cash they're going to put down. If you're working with basically first-time buyers that need to basically get a loan, etc., work with the people in your office. Give them a chance to help you with the loan because they can call the favors due that they need to call due. If you say to them, look, this is going to be an FHA loan and the bank's sitting there with 3 cash offers, what do you think is going to happen, all right? But if your counteroffer, if your offer comes in and it's attractive, they may use it to counter the cash offer, who may walk away, or they may counter you, and maybe you'll still be in the running. So I think with foreclosures, that's the way it has to be. Now, what do I think is going to happen in foreclosures? I think you're going to see a lot of cash buyers still coming out of the woodwork. I think you're going to start to see hedge funds come out of the woodwork and investment groups that have all cash and international buyers that are coming with cash. We know that there are lots of hedge funds now that are building up huge portfolios, 100, 200 million in cash, that are going to buy distressed residential and distressed commercial properties. And they will go probably direct to the lender and get them at a discounted price. So foreclosures aren't going away. I think it's going to be here the next couple of years out. You're going to have to deal with that as you move out and expand your base to the East Bay, and you're going to have to learn to play in that game. Be nice to the REO agents, all right? You don't do a lot over here, but believe me, the REO agent has a lot of power with the asset manager that's sitting back there that's looking at that property. They're sitting someplace back east. They have no connection to the property. They don't want to know anything about it. They just want to give it to this person that they've hired, and they want to get it off their hands. That REO agent basically provides guidance, recommendations to them, and here's the way it works. There's 30 offers, or 10 offers, let's say, and here's 4 of them. They say, so which one do you like? Well, all cash, 10-day close might work, but here's 3 others that look pretty good. Well, this one's going to be FHA, it's going to take too long, too bad, goodbye. This one, I don't think that buyer's put down enough, etc. This one, look, it's pretty good. It's almost comparative to the cash offer. Yeah, but I don't like that agent. I've always hated that agent. They never worked well. They don't have the right client. They always lie. We'll never get the deal done. Believe me, that goes. That's it. You're done. So be nice to the REO agents. They have the power. There it is. You're working with it. You're looking at it. Everybody says, but you can't talk to these REO agents. I can't get in. There's an 800 number. Don't call the 800 number. That's why it's there, so you'll get a recording and you'll never connect to anybody. Email them. They will respond to email faster. Or call the office where they work directly. Get a sweet little secretary on the phone and say to her, I'd like to talk to somebody that's in the group that's handling their property management or handling the listings or the writing of the contracts, and maybe you'll get to somebody on their team who basically can help you. So I think that's the foreclosure short sale pocket of the market. Let me talk for a minute about the high end. The high end, we've talked about the seller side and how I've told you before, they need to be aggressive in their pricing. These people need to get a grip. If they don't have a grip, I think one of the things you might want to do, and I wouldn't do this on every listing, and I would make sure you talk to managers about this, but if they're so far out of the woods, maybe you would want to get an appraisal in advance, because maybe that gets them to come to Jesus and gets them to reality. Let me give you an example. I had somebody call me on a property in Hillsborough the other day, and they said to me, they want to list this at 1.8, Carol, what do you think? It's a fixer-upper, and I said, no, I don't like that at all. I said, I think 1.5. 1.5 is probably, you know, realistic, not aggressive, but a lot better. So they decided to list it at 1.6. Some buyer comes in, bids it, pays 1.5, and I think I'm a genius, right? This is wonderful. Except the appraisal came, and the appraisal was 1.3. Now you know what happened. Come up with the cash. The buyer doesn't want to do that. The seller gets their own appraiser. The buyer gets their own appraiser. Comes up a little bit better. At the end, the bank says, we don't care. That's it. 1.3 is the number. You like it, take it. Don't, goodbye. Find somebody else to give you the loan. The other thing with the high end is this. When you're dealing with properties, I have something called the power of the number that I like to talk about. This is the key to me. When you're dealing at properties at $1 million or below, the first number is the only number that counts. Now let me give you an example. Somebody called me about a property in Foster City. Now you all know Foster City. Beautiful condo on the water. And they wanted to list it for $609. So I went in and looked at what was there, and there were some that were over $609 and a couple that were under, but they weren't as nice, you know, didn't have the views, etc. And they said to me, what do you think? And I said, let me think about it overnight, because I don't like the 6. I don't care about the 09. What the hell do I care about the 09? I only cared about the 6. And the 6 bothered me. And the reason why the 6 bothered me was there was too many in the 5s that people were going to go look at that may not even give them the chance to come and look at the 6. And the 6 looked better when you saw it, but you had to get people there to look at it before you could sell it. So I called them and I said, you know, a 5 would be much better. Make it 599, 999, make it 589. I don't care, because what the buyer's going to look at is the first number. And by making it a 6, from a 599 to a 609, you're talking $9 grand. It's no big deal. But believe me, you are going to negate a lot of buyers because you put a 6 in front of that instead of a 5. And so they did that, and it sold, which was nice. But in the meantime, under $1 million, it's the first number. Now, what about if it's over $1 million? If it's over $1 million, I think the first number still counts. Because if you don't get the first number right, I don't care what the rest of the numbers are. It doesn't even matter. But there's another thing that counts after the first number. And that's the second number. And I'll tell you why the second number counts. If you have a property that's at $2 million, and 2 is the right first number, right? And they want to make it 2.8, right? And it shouldn't be 2.8, it should be 2.5, right? Then you know what? That 5 needs to be there. Or better yet, if it should have been, let's say, 3 million and it couldn't be, that's fine. It could be 2,000,009, and that would be better, because the 2 is what people look at. The 9 could be the next most powerful number. The minute they start with the wrong first number, the second number is going to be wrong, believe me, and it's going to impact the first number anyway, and they're not going to get what they want. So I think when you sit down with these people at the high end, they need to understand about appraisals now. They need to understand the power of the number, and they need to understand that they are already down in price. It's going to be less valuable at the end of the year, and here's the 3 other things you need to tell them. It costs them 1% to carry a property. Now here's what they're going to say: we could wait out the market. To me, that's just a time and money game. That's the easiest one you have to talk about. That's a joy, okay? Because that you can combat. When they talk to you about my house and it's mine, it's not like anybody else's. Now we're dealing with wackos with emotion. That's a little bit more difficult. And sometimes when I used to be at APR, I used to want to go out on some of these listings, which I do with some of the agents, and when I walk through these houses, I would roll my eyes, and they were telling you how wonderful and unique it is and all of this crap, and you know, they had straw in the ceiling with the $80 million kitchen, and the straw's falling on your head. You know, people don't usually like that in their food. And I'm thinking to myself, yes, it is unusual. It's so unusual. You're the only person in the whole world that will like this house. How in the hell are we going to find anybody that will like it, you know? But that's fine, so you know that. All right. So I think that then the other thing they're going to say to you is, well, we'll just wait out the market. Okay, that's great. That's time and money. So let's talk about that. When do you think the market's going to come back? Because I assume you're waiting it out so that you can get this price that you want. Well, if we think it's going to come back next year, well, let's talk about that. The way that markets that are correcting, and remember, high-end came into this correction later, and here's the thing that I know would be tough, but you need to say to them. I think at one time you could say to the high end, it doesn't matter whether you bought it a little bit high or a little bit low, because in 3 years it will be worth more. We knew that. You never had to worry. You could say to somebody, you buy a piece of Saratoga land today, 6 months, a year from now, it'll be worth more. I don't know that you can say that anymore. It will be worth more, but I don't know when. There's the key. When is the key. Can I sit here and say to somebody, I'll put my license on the line that in 3 years it'll be worth X or more? I don't know. I know it will be worth more. Saratoga is very valuable, but I don't know the time frames anymore. So when they say, well, it'll start to go up next year, well, first of all, it's a correcting market. We haven't even gotten to the end of the decline in the high end, and it's got to get to stability. So we're only 3 months from next year, so I don't think that's going to happen. So next year, maybe it'll just be flat. Let's say it flattens out. Perfect. Now we're already at 2011. Now in 2011, we're going to have a recovery. This is wonderful. So your property's going to appreciate. Gee, every economist I read, Mr. Case and Mr. Schiller, who are now the gurus of real estate, are saying it's going to go up 2%. That's it. We're living in a 2% world now. If that's true, I hope you're willing to hold your property till 2015. Because this number that you're looking at, it's going to take till 2015. Now, that's the idea that they have to give them. So they're either going to be for sale, and they're going to do it aggressively. They're going to look at comps over the last 3 months, and here's the comps you show them. Listings, not overpriced listings. Active, competitive listings. How long they've been on the market, what they eventually sold for, if they were discounted, where is inventory growing, how much inventory do they have. Oh, and by the way, is the inventory a foreclosure or short sale? Because that's going to muck the heck out of your market. And oh, by the way, is this a have-to seller? How do we know a have-to seller? Well, you know a have-to seller when you see a price that's really, really aggressive. You know you've got a have-to seller. Now, buyers, let me tell you a quick story. I have a son who you know is an investment banker, and I told you before I sent him to Harvard and ruined him, so you know that. And he's an attorney plus a CPA. Oh God, can you imagine?